Welcome to the Essential Self-Care Podcast, a show for those of us who are, let's face it, too busy for self-care. Each week, we bring you real-life stories and expert insights to help you create a kinder, more compassionate relationship with yourself. I'm your host, Dr. Sheetal Ajmani, a physician with over 2 decades of experience blending Eastern and Western well-being practices. As the founder of Radiant Living Institute, I'm here to help you reconnect with your own inner radiance. Remember, small changes make a large impact, and it all starts here. Please note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your own healthcare provider about your specific situation. Now, let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Essential Self-Care Podcast. I am so excited for today's guest and the topic. I'm not going to give it away, but I will say that the topic is one that we have not yet covered on the show. So I am really excited about that. It is a brand new conversation for our listeners. And my dear guest today is Dr. Wendy Schofer. Now, Dr. Schofer and I, a little bit of background. We met years ago, and Dr. Schofer, I don't know if you remember this part of us meeting, actually. One of my best friends, Dr. Arthi Surya, who has also been a guest on this show, she was in some sort of program or webinar with you. So she's based out of Michigan. She's an integrative medicine physician based out in Michigan. And she was in some sort of webinar or program for you. I think it was specifically designed for physicians who are interested in integrative and lifestyle medicine. And she called me up one day. She was like, Sheetal, I met this really amazing woman, another physician who's into all the same things that we're into, with integrative and lifestyle medicine. And I think she lives pretty close to you. So she actually connected us by email. And then, lo and behold, come to find out, we both work at the same exact pediatric urgent care at the time. Now, for our listeners, we aren't like completely oblivious that we're working at the same place and didn't know each other. Like the pediatric urgent care has 4 different locations. And at that time, I don't know what the number is now, but at that time had about 60 different healthcare providers, physicians, and other healthcare providers. So we worked out of different primary locations, but we come to find out that we're working for the same exact company, the same exact pediatric urgent care in our region. So such a small world, but that's actually how we met. And that was years ago. So for our listeners, you're in for such a treat. Let me go into a little bit more of the formal bio, and then we'll dive into the conversation. So Dr. Schofer is a pediatrician and founder of Family in Focus, where she helps parents worried about their children's weight build a healthier whole family by creating better relationships with food, ourselves, and each other. She believes that health starts at home, and empowering parents is the secret sauce to raising healthy children. Today, Dr. Schofer is going to share a bit about her personal self-care journey. And without giving away too much, let's just say, expect a comedic twist in this one. Welcome to the show, Wendy. I'm so excited to chat with you.
I was just going to stay here and laugh the entire time. I mean, you're so right. The ever decreasing size of this world. It is so incredibly small. And oh my goodness, I totally forgot about our original connections. I was thinking that it started up with at work, but yes, of course, connected through lifestyle medicine. Absolutely. And really talking with Artie and it really getting connected right there. It's funny how we always pick out like the like-minded folks. And we're like, oh, I got to get you connected with this person. And then, of course, we're all in each other's backyard playing already. So
yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting because there's this, pool of physicians. It's growing, but honestly, it's not a massive pool of physicians who are exploring different avenues and paths and businesses and ways to offer the things that we're passionate about, the things that we care about to our communities. And you and I, even, when we were both working at the pediatric urgent care, we both still were working on these things on the side. You with Family in Focus, me with Radiant Living Institute. So we connected on that level too, of kind of being these, I guess, unicorns, you could say, right? Of really sort of carving our own paths in many ways as well. So that may be part of the journey that you share with us today. Maybe, maybe not, but let's dive in. Can you tell us about a time in your life where self-care became no longer an option for you, but an absolute priority? And more specifically, like, where did that journey lead you? What sort of tools or modalities did that lead you to explore?
I Oh my gosh. Everything to me is the exhale. As you're asking that, I'm just like, oh, let me just settle into this. Like you're taking me right back to that place. And I really think that the part that jumps into my mind is I'm kind of old friends with burnout. I know burnout pretty well. And I didn't have the words for it, back then. I just kept on thinking that, I wasn't able to work hard enough, long enough. I wasn't a good enough doctor, a good enough mom, all the like things that I was just carrying around the weight of how I wasn't fitting this mold that who knows, I had made it, someone else had made it, whatever it is, I was not fitting it. And so I was in yet another phase of burnout and in yet another time that my husband was deployed. So we're a military family. I retired and he continues on. And he was deployed. And I got home one night and I looked at the kids who were thankfully at an age that I could do this. And I said, don't hurt yourselves. Mama's going out tonight. So I was like, I just need to get out. I need to go somewhere that I'm not talking about work, that I'm not hearing kids arguing with each other, just somewhere that I can kind of let it go. And I didn't just wander aimlessly. I already knew where I wanted to go. I went across town to Norfolk to the improv studio, and they were starting up with their Improv 101 class. And I had had a little bit of exposure before that. I was like, you know what? I want to check this out. I want to check it out. And I've realized over time, as you originally started the question about self care, well, so much of my self care is around humor. And anyone that's ever seen me in the office will totally know, like, I lead with humor, and it is part of my own self-care. It's not even so much of a coping mechanism. It's just what fuels me. And that is, self-care. And it was really funny. So, I mean, I'm dating myself. This was like 2015. So I went through, went to the improv classes, and I was like, this is fun, but I am having the hardest time here. It
Okay,
was
I'm going to
so
stop you
hard.
right here. I'm going to
Yeah.
stop you right here, and we're going to come back to that because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
we're going to come back to that. Okay, because I want to reflect on a few things that you already shared. So first of all, everything that you started with, like burnout number, 1,000, whatever it was, right? Like number how
Yeah.
many. I have totally been there. And then, also I really appreciate you sharing that internal dialogue that you were experiencing at that time. I know for me, I could 100%, like 100,000% relate to that internal dialogue that you were talking about of like experiencing this burnout and then also internalizing that in so many ways of like, okay, I'm just not, is it that I'm just not fit enough to do this? Is it that I am not, made to work these same long hours that my colleagues are, or whatever it may be, but kind of I'm not fitting that mold for whatever reason, and try as I might to fit that mold, it's just not happening. Like that internal dialogue that you shared, I could resonate with that so deeply. And so I just wanted to pull that out for our listeners as well, right? Like both of us have experienced that and had that dialogue. So I know that we're not alone in that, and that many people who are listening right now will probably resonate with that as well. And just that idea of like carrying the weight of everything, of all of that, and so much of that being our own internal dialogue. And then a couple other things I wanted to pull out for the listeners, and then I have a couple follow-up questions for you too, is I liked this idea that in exploring your own ways of practicing self-care, you really, you mentioned that you lead with humor, and that's just always been the case. And you really found that that is just reflecting your words, not even necessarily a coping strategy, but you just found that that's what naturally, innately fuels you. And so just pulling that out for our listeners too, who may be struggling with like, how do I practice self-care? Where do I even start? And maybe even just thinking about what are those things that have just always kind of fueled you? Maybe, is there ways that, are you experiencing that in your life right now, or are there ways you can bring more of that into your life right now? Now, before you dive into you're about to share some insights that you had when you first started attending these improv classes. But before that, I was curious, that moment that you came home and you said to your kids, okay, take care of yourselves, don't hurt yourselves, mama will be back shortly. And you decided to go to this Improv 101 class. How did you feel? Like, did you feel scared? Did you feel nervous? Were you excited? Like, it just seems to me that could be a big step to say, you know what? I'm going to do this. And this is
Yeah.
the night that I'm going to do it. Like, how did you feel in that moment? Do you recall? Before we go on, I'm excited to share something that could really make a positive impact on your life. Do you feel like you've lost touch with your true self? Reclaim Your Radiance is Radiant Living Institute's signature coaching program designed to help you reclaim your worth, renew your energy, and restore your happiness in your life, career, and relationships. This 6-module program has already helped countless women regain control of their lives. Whether by setting boundaries in challenging relationships, finding strength through life transitions like divorce, pivoting in their careers, or rediscovering their purpose as they embrace new chapters of their life. Start your journey today and begin living authentically, unapologetically, and radiantly once again. Head over to radiantlivinginstitute.com/reclaim-your-radiance to get started. I hope you found that helpful, and if you're ready to explore this more, check out the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into today's episode.
To be honest with you, I don't know anymore. It's kind of one of those things that I've always kind of been open to. What's the worst that can happen? I may say that far too many times. But like, what's really the worst that can happen? All right, I'm just going to go out and check it out. So maybe that's feeling, something like possibility. Maybe it's just something where I just needed to do something different. And exactly what I was feeling at the time, I don't exactly know which emotion was really kind of, driving the car. But it was just something that I knew I just needed something different.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that those reflections as well are really impactful, right? Sometimes we do just need something different. And then this idea of possibility, and also even just that perspective of what's the worst that can happen. So I think so often we can build up so many, and this is a lot of the work that I do with clients too, is we can build up so many different fears in our mind. But then once we sort of put it out onto paper or speak it out loud, we realize more often than not that those fears are not as bad as we made them out to be in our head. So sometimes really just asking yourself that question can offer and open up so much perspective and possibility of like, well, what's the worst that can happen if I do this, So now, let's go back. Take us back to this part of the story that we left off. So you had taken, these first few sessions, and you came to realize
that I am an uptight person. I realized, as I was going in there, and I was amazed by the many varieties of people that were going to these classes. And so we had students, we had retirees, we had folks who worked in the schools, folks from the shipyard, like we had many different people. And I remember that I was kind of thinking, well, I'm the only one that's a doctor here. I do remember there was a school principal that was there. For some reason, he in particular stood out to me. But, it was kind of this thing where I was like, oh, and there's not that many that are moms here. Interesting. And there's not that many that are my age. And I started looking at, well, there was a wide breadth of people that were there. I noticed that I was kind of like carrying my identity and kind of being like, I'm the only one. I'm the only one. And it started showing up. I recognized when I was trying out things on stage where I was like, oh, I don't know if a pediatrician would say that. I don't know if a military officer or a mom or someone of my age or, of my role, oh gosh, like my role in the community that I should be doing this on stage. Oh man, I was uptight big time because I was taking all of the roles that I play each and every day, all the ones you were talking about carrying that weight, I was carrying it up on stage with me. I oh gosh, like it just feels so heavy talking about it now. I'm like, oh, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
But it was just something that I recognized when I was being put in different situations. I'm like, ooh, yeah, Wendy, not the character that I'm playing. Wendy does not feel comfortable with this because this is not what Wendy would do.
Mm. It's so interesting. So for our listeners, Wendy and I were chatting, I think it was just last week, about this, and she shared this with me, and I was like, "Oh, please come on the show and share this with my listeners because I think so many of us can resonate with that." And again, this is also something that I can resonate with so deeply. This idea of like identifying with these different roles and these aspects of our identity. And one thing that came up for me as you were sharing that just now is how, and this is obviously not just you, not just me, I think this is just simply human nature, is that we can, our mind through these different roles and identity can create this element and this appearance and perspective of separation. Like I'm the only one, right?
Yeah.
I'm the only one who's this age, and it can be whatever. It can be age, gender, profession, right? It can be, we can link and tie ourselves up so tightly to these different roles in our lives, and that can create this element of separation. So that was one thing that came up for me. But then I think I think when we sort of have that insight and we find these ways to connect in our community so that no longer becomes such a separateness, but of really realizing how similar we actually all are. But there's this
Mm.
aspect of ourselves, there's this aspect of our minds, or maybe it's our ego selves, but there's just this aspect of ourselves that can build up this idea of separateness.
It's funny as you were saying that, I was thinking, yeah, that it's just contributing to that sense of loneliness
Mm-hmm.
where, we're just kind of creating this, I think you said an appearance of separation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that separation is just creating enough of a distance. They're like, I'm so alone
Mm-hmm.
in whatever it is that I'm experiencing right now. And yeah, that's totally what was happening as I was taking all the struggles that I was having off stage into the theater. And it was, kind of keeping me from really experiencing, like enjoying the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just perpetuating what it was that I was doing in my day to day life.
Mm-hmm.
That's no fun. No fun.
Yeah. So then what happened next? So you came to this realization. Did you keep going? Did you take a break? Like what happened next?
Well, like all things in my life, there was a calendar issue. To be honest with you, so I went through all of the classes for 101, and then you go to a graduation show. And there was something that happened in the schedule that our graduation show got backed up a week. Well, I'm sorry, that does not work with me. You did not file that in advance. So I had a conflict, so I could not go to the graduation show. And so, what is my internal dialogue? I didn't graduate. I never went to the graduation show. And so I just kind of like had my tail between my legs and, walked around. I can hear like an Eeyore voice right now. Like, just, yep, didn't pass. And couldn't get the schedule stuff to line up to be able to go back and do it again until uh, after COVID, after everything opened up again. So I believe that must have been spring of 21. And my son was now of an age that he wanted to go with me. And the two of us decided to go back to Improv 101. And we did it together. I may have thoroughly embarrassed him, which means I was totally winning. I did exactly what my job is as a mom. But it was such a different experience with, just a couple of years and a whole lot of kind of things that changed in the meanwhile. But I mean, when I say it was a completely different experience, I'm like hands down, like I was a different person walking in there because I wasn't walking in there as the pediatrician. I'm okay. Everybody knew I was his mom, like kind of hard to get past that, So I was a mom in there, but I got to explore so much more about who I wanted to be and really kind of checking all of those identities at the door and just
Mm.
getting to play with, yeah, I mean, I keep on finding myself saying playing with the identities, but like play with the different characters and what it is that this person would do, not what Wendy would do, not what the mom, the doctor, all these different things, but just like, let's just try this. Because by the way, nobody's keeping notes.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to like go and tattle on you and be like, oh, I couldn't believe what she did.
Mhm.
And yeah, I might actually be a pediatrician with a sailor's mouth. And I kind of like that when I want to do that. And then other times I don't. And that's okay too.
Yeah. It's like you gave yourself permission to open up in these ways and to explore and to play. And I like this phrase that you said too, also of like, let's just try this. And
Yeah.
also of no one's keeping notes. I think that's another thing that can keep us stuck is so much fear of what other people are going to think of us. And then going back to that identity and the roles that we play, what are people going to think of us? Someone in my role and with this identity doing this, right? That maybe doesn't, again, going back to the start of our conversation, that maybe doesn't fit the mold of
Yeah.
what I think this identity should encompass, right? And so I love how you said you just kind of checked the identities at the door and then went in and allowed yourself to play. Like I almost think of it, I almost have this visualization when you're doing that of kind of like hanging your coat up at the door as you walked in, like just checking the identities in at the door, like just putting it in the coat check. Okay, I'll pick this up on my way out. But for now, I'm just coming in and it's like this blank canvas. It also makes me think of a lot of different things that I've tried both during difficult times in my life as well as other times, but it really uh, stands out to me during some of those difficult times in my life where I did have that a similar sort of feeling of like, I just need to do something different, right? I just need to try something different, right? And that has taken me to different art classes. It has taken me to different dance classes, things of that nature. And I think of right now, I'm taking both pottery and ballet dance classes. And so just thinking about that, yeah, when we go in there, I don't know what everyone else does for a living, right? We're all just making pottery together or we're all just dancing together, right? And so it's like we can kind of set some of those roles aside and just engage in this creative process, in this play, in this exploration together.
It's funny. There's one particular example that comes up where um, fast forward a couple of years, like I've gone through multiple classes and I'm actually on one of the house teams and we were practicing one night and it was just Patrick and I were just jumping into a scene. We were two nuns in New York City, put our hands together, eyes to the sky, and we were on the top of the Empire State Building because we could be closer to God. And all of a sudden, our mentor was like, "Stop, this is the worst scene I've ever seen. What are you doing?" I'm like, "We're nuns in New York City." And he's like, "Duh, like, okay, that's obvious." And he says, nobody leads with what they do. Nobody walks into a room and says, I'm a nun. He's like, I'm a shipbuilder. I bet you didn't know that. I'm like, had no idea. But when he said that, it was like one of those hold my beer kind of moments. I'm like, nope, actually, you know who does walk into the room and introduces themselves that way? Physicians and moms. I'm like, oh, I got a double dose of that right here. Double dose. And so, again, this is something that I'm even acknowledging years later. This is something that it's not like I could say, well, I'm just deciding that I'm leaving my luggage at the door. I see it. it kind of sneaks up. But that story and that, that way of kind of messing up was something where it is like so ingrained in my head now because, you know, you wouldn't know I'm a shipbuilder. I'm like, of course not. But you definitely all know that I'm a doctor because I mention it all the darn time. Totally guilty, totally guilty. And yet it's just what we do. It's kind of like unlearning. There's so much that, we've done to be able earn to earn that role, to earn that identity, to be able to be recognized for that, especially as women in medicine. My goodness. Absolutely. And so, yeah, go figure. It kind of sneaks up. It's like one of those little whack-a-mole kind of things. Like, oh, I see that again. Ooh, totally coming back.
Yeah.
Totally coming back.
I love that you brought that up because, one thing I always talk about also is that like self-care is a practice. It's not a perfect, you don't reach a state where all of a sudden, okay, I'm perfect at this, because there's always different dimensions, different angles, different aspects of it. And then also there are just so many aspects that are these, call it conditioned patterns, or things of like you said, sort of unlearning and discovering other aspects of ourselves. And so just this reminder that it is a practice, and that when those things do come back up for us, to be gentle with ourselves, to practice compassion with ourselves. So all of that, again, I knew this would happen, Wendy, when we hopped on, because we could keep going on about this. It's so much fun to chat with you. But for time's sake, clearly you have been on this journey of continuing to work through that. You have taken so many different sessions now because that was 2021. We're recording this in 2025, of improv. You are now also doing some really interesting work and putting together some really interesting resources for other people who may want to explore this as an avenue. Can you tell people, again, just as we're wrapping up, a little bit about what you're putting together and where they can learn more, where they can find out more?
Absolutely. So I really see the work that I'm doing in improv as a means to be able to translate that into our day-to-day lives, and really trying to see how we can take the lessons of improv, which I am just a walking lesson of improv, but how that can impact our health, our well-being, our perspectives, our emotional health, and these same lessons that we can use for the entire family at every age. And so I've created the Improv Your Health course, which is all virtual. It's, again, it is that sailor's mouth is turned off. Okay, so it is for all family members. But it is a course that walks you through the lessons of improv and how you can play different games. So we use examples that you can play in your own home. And then if you are local to Hampton Roads, we're actually kicking off Improv for Families, which is a series of workshops that will be hosted starting this summer. And there's going to be different themes where there's going to be improv for moms, improv for introverts, improv for awkward teens, improv for the whole family. So having entire family sessions. And it's just something where it's not about getting to that graduation show. It's not about having to perform on stage. It's about being able to explore, to play, to try it on, and take it home with you, because it is not just reserved for on the stage. These are lessons that we can use and truly what we can play with. And I'm already taking this, into the urgent care office all the time, all the time. And so it's working for my clinical practice. It's working for me. It's working for my patients. And so I just want to share that. And so, yeah, come on over to our website, wendyschofermd.com.
This is fantastic. I'm so glad that you've created this resource. I think it's going to be really helpful for so many people and so much fun as well. So yes, I will include your links in the show notes below. Thank you so much for being here. I know you have so many choices for how to spend your time. So I thank you for being here today with Essential Self-Care. As a gift, download your free workbook, 6 simple yet powerful steps to create your radiant life at radiantlivinginstitute.com and start your journey to a more radiant you.